Imagine you're an exchange student. You dress up, you step out, and you're fully expecting to walk into a quiet, traditional, indoor hotel dining hall, right? But instead, you turn the corner and boom, you find a massive, lively, loud celebration literally blocking traffic. Sounds kind of chaotic, doesn't it? But as we'll see, it's actually a beautifully orchestrated tradition. Basically, we're seeing a beautiful collision of modern city life with deeply rooted cooperative countryside traditions. The writer attends this open-air street banquet in Kaohsiung, learns about its rich history of neighbors cooking together, and eventually realizes that the real takeaway isn't just the amazing food, it's that enduring spirit of togetherness. Moving right along, let's hit part 2, words in context. To really get the flavor of this story, we need to look at the specific vocabulary the author uses. Our first key word is banquet. The writer's most memorable experience was being invited by their host family to a wedding banquet in Kaohsiung. But keep the contrast in mind. Back in the US, as the writer notes, banquets are usually held in these large, formal dining halls. This banquet, however, was happening right out in the open street, which completely flipped the writer's expectations upside down. Next up, we have pedestrian. Now, you'd probably think that a massive party totally blocking the road would cause a huge scene, right? But the text specifically points out that none of the pedestrians, the people walking by on foot, nor the people in passing vehicles, seemed to care at all. It just beautifully highlights how accepted and deeply ingrained this custom is in the local culture. It's literally just a normal day in Taiwan. And that casual acceptance brings us perfectly to our next word, authentic. The author repeatedly emphasizes that this isn't some tourist trap or a manufactured show put on for visitors. No, this is the most authentic Taiwanese eating experience you can possibly have. It's genuine, it's true to its roots, and it's a very real slice of local life. Of course, eating outside does come with a few logistical challenges, and that's where our next word, shelter, comes in. To protect the guests from the elements, a massive temporary tent was put up to shelter everyone. And under this shelter, guests sat at these large round tables, chatting cheerfully while cooks prepared huge platters of food just nearby. But why did they need such a massive shelter in the first place? Well, that brings us to the word fierce. Specifically, that tent was absolutely necessary to block out the fierce, intense sun of southern Taiwan. Now, fierce here doesn't mean angry like a wild animal. In this context, it means incredibly powerful and unrelenting. And that brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of the event with our next word, occupy. Look, this wasn't just some small pop-up canopy. The huge tent occupied, meaning it physically took up and filled nearly half of the entire street. It was a completely dominant presence in the neighborhood. So, being naturally curious, the writer asked their host parents about the history of all this. The host father explained that this fascinating open-air custom originated in the rural countryside. To originate simply means where something began. So even though this particular Bandoh was happening in the bustling city of Kaohsiung, its true roots go way back to small agricultural villages. He went on to explain that in the old days, whenever there was a special event, like a wedding or an elder's birthday, the whole community got involved. An event is a significant occurrence, right? And in these small villages, these events were literally the glue that held their society together. And because they didn't exactly have massive commercial catering companies back then, the village had to cooperate. Everyone in the neighborhood would work together. The host would provide the main ingredients, sure, but the neighbors? They would cooperate by helping to cook, bringing their own tables and chairs, and even sharing their own eating utensils. By cooperating like that, they were able to arrange a massive, joyful Bandoh. To arrange means to organize and put things into place. This was a massive logistical effort, entirely powered by the goodwill and the community spirit of the neighborhood. Our final word paints probably the most vivid picture in the whole text: stroll. The host mother shared that after the Bandoh wrapped up, guests would pack up the leftovers. And because it was dark, the host would actually hand out torches. Older folks still remember this beautiful sight of lines of people strolling, just walking in a relaxed, leisurely way back home late at night, carrying torches and bags of food. It's like something out of a movie. All right, let's wrap this up with part 3, the complete story, where we build our final summary. Now let's pull all those micro-components we just talked about together into a complete narrative summary. We start our summary by contrasting the setting with our initial expectations. So we introduce the exchange student in Taiwan and that surprising, unforgettable sight of an outdoor wedding banquet happening right under a giant tent in the middle of a busy street. From there, we transition from the physical description to the history. The host family explains the countryside roots of the Bandoh. We can distill all those great details about borrowing tables, chairs, and cooking together into one powerful central concept: the cooperation among the villagers. Then, to really capture the atmosphere in our summary, we need to highlight the most memorable traditional imagery. We describe the guests packing up their leftovers and carrying literal torches to light their way home. This authentic tradition left a profound impression on the writer. While times definitely change, that core spirit of togetherness makes this the absolute best memory the writer plans to share back home. And boom, right there, you have a perfectly structured summary ready to go.
Beyond Norm's input and output training helps you share Taiwan with foreigners all around the world.